the folks visiting.
Yeah, you should. You should. Cool. Yeah. I'm trying to set up the YouTube live thing at the moment, just so you know.
Okay.
And I'll text you the link or something. I'll start posting this. Oh, there you are. Yeah, you should. You should. Yeah. And I'm trying to set up the YouTube live thing at the moment, just so you know.
Okay.
And there we go. Okay. So this is live, right? Put on your phone and look at Spadefoot's YouTube. You there, Robert?
Got my snacks.
I got my snacks.
Is this a turtle or a toad or a frog?
Hold on, I can't see you. Let me do this real quick. Right, here's back to me. Okay. Oh, that. Is that a turtle or a toad? That looks like a turtle to me.
Those bug eyes, though.
Yeah.
I think it's a trog.
Turg. It's a turd.
A fertile.
Fertile. Fertile. A fertile.
A fergle.
Okay.
Ooh,
I'm trying to do.
Cool shirt.
What's that?
You guys are wearing great shirts.
Oh, yeah. Look, mine already got a hole, man. What's wrong with that?
Oh, finger that hole.
Oh.
I'm gonna sue the Herpetological Society.
We're turtle rich. We're herp rich.
And t-shirt poor.
I'm letting you know that we are technically live right now, but no one's on yet that I know of.
You haven't? Do you let them in, or do they let themselves in?
On YouTube, they just come in, but they can't talk. On Zoom, it's just us.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, this one's plugged in.
People are visiting through YouTube.
Yeah, well, and I'm about to post the link on Facebook.
Oh my God, there I am. So you link to YouTube, you don't link to Facebook when you do your broadcasts?
Yeah, because then we can put it on our website for non-Facebook. We have a lot of non-Facebook users that use Instagram but not Facebook. And we could do Facebook, but it's easier to put it on our website.
What do you want me to go to?
You link to YouTube.
What's that?
No, I just went to the site just to see what it looks like. I think I might do that with the Herp Society.
What's that?
Link to YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube is better, and because you can put YouTube on Facebook, and then you can link it on your web. Like right now, I'm going to our website to put the link on for that. Music's awesome. It's free.
Where do you want me to go?
Oh, just go to YouTube. Yeah, that's cool.
What did you do with that invoice today?
Okay. And then I gotta. Whoever's watching now is seeing some riveting footage here. What are you talking about? They got the bass line going?
I'll send this link to my friend.
Now go to Speedfoot Nursery. And then go and look for our live.
It's like,
Okay. And then you can also look for questions. Cool. Let's see.
I log in under space.
Yeah, go to click your picture and then you see
What did you guys do today?
we did some nursery stuff and
Waited.
we did a lot of waiting. No, we were at the nursery. It rained on us a little bit there, and we did some house stuff. What did we do today?
Waited.
Oh, we had an interview this morning. Well, that was it.
Oh yeah, there's a guy we told to contact you.
Oh yeah.
His name is Nick something.
He's doing a overview of people who are trying to come up with creative solutions to help environmental problems and stuff like that. So he's been talking to everyone, and it's a data collecting program, and then basically I don't know.
He's doing it. It's based off
Prescott College.
Yeah. But he's talking about reaching out to people about their environmental impact and environmental stuff, but then with undertones of what's it called? You weren't listening.
I wasn't.
What was I going to say? Maybe my boa will be out.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
We could also pull out our snake.
Pull out our rosy boas.
Our rosy boas. Our black boys. I'll just be over here. Puya. Puya, puya.
Oh, the Sierra del Rosario, like west of Pinacate, that like driest portion of North America, today got like over 4 inches of rain in one dump.
Wow.
I think I saw that. Did Keith post about that?
Lucky.
Maybe. I don't follow him anymore.
I don't know what happened. Maybe another time tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are live right now. I don't know how many people are. Does it say how many people are watching? 6 watching now. Oh, there's people watching. Feel free to say hi if you're watching or not. We don't care. But hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hello.
If anyone is,
I'm a Dr. Bia.
Oh, we lost someone right when we did that.
And goodbye.
If anyone's watching right now, we are just working out the kinks before the 7 o'clock hour. So, and drinking, because that's what we do.
We're working out the kinks and working some in.
And working some kinks in. That's right.
Always got to work the kinks in and out.
And
out and in.
It's just like geology.
That's right. I'm gonna put that funny music.
Kinks should be far away from that.
I just started watching, well, not just, I've been binge watching The Crown.
Oh, so have we.
Yeah.
So have we.
What season are you on?
I stopped on 4 last night.
What season are we on?
I have no idea.
Oh my God. Have you gotten to the Kennedys episode?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good
already
one.
with an old queen.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that-
that's
but-
already older.
Wait till you get to the LBJ episode.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Wait,
That
I think we
one's-
did.
Wait, Johnson. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're past that. We're in the 80s.
Oh, you're in season 4 then. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
we've got Princess Di already.
Yeah, Princess Di is already. Your phone's ringing.
Oh,
Right in front of you, darling.
too many screens.
No, I loved when the sister is like making limericks with LBJ and like
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was pretty great. Yeah, that was awesome.
it makes me wonder if the term Johnson came from that limerick contest.
Do you think that Johnson had to have been before that, right?
Before what?
Before Johnson.
Wait, what?
Before the
The term Johnson came
term
before
Johnson that
Oh,
President.
like a Johnson?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I don't know, but throughout the series, you kind of hear phrases like pop cultural like phrases. You
Right.
wonder, that's where that came from, or something.
There's a lot of there's actually a lot of really good music. I love how much Blondie's been playing on the Crown.
80s one.
And just yeah, they played New Order, they played The Cure.
Because it's the 80s.
Yeah. Where's your green on my teeth?
It's pistachios.
I gotta take care of my teeth. I got pistachios in my teeth.
Take care of those teeth. We haven't lost anyone yet. Besides the last one. It's bedtime, man.
I know. Welcome to bed hour.
Welcome to bed hour.
You know, it's funny because like she's not kidding. Like we are usually in bed. Well, right now we're usually still up, but we go to bed like 7 or 8 o'clock because we get up early.
I have been getting sleepy around 8 or 9, which is way earlier than I usually been going to bed.
What
Yeah.
time do you wake up at?
Depending on the day, around 7 or 7:30.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
We have 7 whole people watching at 15 minutes early. That's pretty good. Woo!
Welcome everyone
Hello.
to
Hello.
the pre-show.
Pre-game, pre-show.
This is the unplanned portion.
Don't
then
tell
the
anyone
part-
what we're saying.
And then the next part is the other unplanned portion.
That's when I have my phone for notes.
Oh, you're smart. We talked in the morning, Barbara and I.
Yeah, around 8.
With your notes, that's really good.
I was scared I was going to wake you up.
No, well, my phone is set up so that if it rings, because it's also a business phone. Hello there.
Hi,
Serious
Sarah's
lady. What was I saying? Oh yeah, my phone is. I got that new thing where everything's shut off so that nothing beeps. Because if I leave notifications and stuff on, I won't sleep. So I permanently turned off my notifications for Facebook and Instagram. But we still get notifications when we get sales, and I get notifications for when our live camera at the nursery goes off, just security.
When there's a cat in the nursery.
It's usually a cat. And a couple other things but that's it. I stopped the email and Instagram and Facebook notifications because we're trying to stop working at 5 o'clock, stop answering emails. But of course, if I'm up, I tend to.
It's hard to escape work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when you own your own business, like you don't stop working. So we're trying to be better about that. The time is 6:49. We got 10 minutes. Yeah. I'm just gonna put up a little thing at the moment, and it'll still have us in the corner. But It just lets everybody know things.
Sweetie mesquites.
Oh yeah, I kind of like that. Whoops.
Sweets mesquites.
Sweetie mesquites.
So sweet.
Where is that?
What's that?
Where's the Sweets Mesquites?
Oh, you won't see it on Zoom. It's on YouTube if you look on there in a minute, because there's a time delay. But oh, there it is. It's on. I got spell checked is what happened, obviously.
Oh.
Spell check is my enemy, especially if you're a botanist. Spell check is your enemy.
That looks like uvula.
It's supposed to be, yeah, that L is not supposed to be in there. I'm going to fix that right now. Why not? Let's just fix all this real quick for the 5 people who will
Mesquitesy.
see it. Yeah, this is Uva Llama, not Uva Llama.
Like uvula.
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 What is that you're referring to?
Your uvula? There's a llama in there.
It's a llama in your uvula.
Your uvula is the thing that hangs down.
Oh,
The little dangly thing.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Take a shoot.
It's a, hey, kitten.
You take a shoot, Joe.
Here's some real nerd alert. Uber nerd alert.
What's that? What is it?
It's a beer which was issued to commemorate the first World Congress of Herpetology.
Wow, it's so nerdy.
So there's a chameleon on front.
Is it good?
Joe Curry says, yo, take a shoot. But I think you mean take a shot.
Oh,
But I'm not gonna shoot this.
Cheers, everybody.
Hello.
cheers.
We're almost online, but we are online. Cheers. Cheers.
Ah,
Where'd you get that beer?
a friend of mine passed away and left me some stuff.
That's sad.
Well, cheers.
Cheers to them.
That's good. I really like it.
What are you reading lately?
Reading?
Mm-hmm.
Reading.
Oh.
Actually, I am reading slowly through.
Oh. I've
So-
not read that one.
You haven't? I'm surprised. You should.
I haven't read it yet.
Oh,
we have a book for you. Hey, you.
You do?
Yes. We were gonna loan you the Where the Crawdads Sing.
Oh yeah, you gotta read that.
I love me some crawdads.
Who doesn't?
Shout out to Chris Wendell who
Gifted us this
gifted
book.
us that book. One of our customers and friends.
I've heard about it.
This book is gorgeous. It's fiction and it's a murder mystery kind of, but it's set in a natural historian context. There's so much natural history in this book. It's so incredible, and it's the southeast United States.
North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina.
Oh, someone's asking for a picture of your beer.
Oh yeah, hey Robert,
Show that beer again.
show off that beer.
Show your
And
beer.
talk while you do that so that the screen goes to you.
Okay, can you guys see that?
Zoom, yeah.
This is a beer that was issued or brewed for the first World Congress of Herpetology. So amphibian and reptile science. And it was in 1989 in Canterbury, England. And my dear friend was there. He was the founder of the Herpetological Society that now I'm the president of, have been the president of. And yeah.
Very cool. I love the label.
Yeah, old natural history drawing. And I doubt it's any good anymore.
So you're definitely not drinking it tonight.
No.
Or ever.
To Joe Curry, Robert's drinking mezcal.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, we'll have to do all this again, but
It's not 7 yet.
I know. We're giving up all of our secrets already.
And you guys are drinking mezcal. You guys are drinking
how happy
Bacanora.
are we right now too that we've survived the fascist takeover of the United States?
Survived.
How happy are we? So let's see.
Good sax music you got going.
We got 6:55. We got 5 minutes. So people were watching the 10, 11 people. Oh, Joe Curry's done. He was getting tired.
No, he says dope, not done.
Oh, I thought I said.
Hey guys, you want to see my impression of a salmon swimming upriver?
What?
What?
Yes.
This is my impression of a salmon swimming upriver.
That's what they look like in National Geographic when they've got the videos.
For people who are watching right now,
Hey, you did it too.
We got 5 minutes, but let us know if our sound is good, if video's good enough. You know, we moved into another room.
Let us know if we're good enough.
Yeah, no, don't like. Don't do that. We don't care. No, just let us know if it sounds good, if we're choppy. You know, we moved out of the living room into our bedroom. Behind us is our bookshelf in our bedroom, but the internet's better in here. That's why we moved in here. And so,
hopefully, we don't turn into stationary robots.
Yeah, hopefully we just don't like.
That would be the worst. More cowbell. Someone says more cowbell.
I don't have a cowbell. I don't think.
I don't either. Jared's frozen. Broken. Sound and video is fine. Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you.
Except
Good.
for when Jared freezes, then it's not working.
I'm working on a different modem than everyone else is, so you know.
It's 8-bit.
It's
not a modem.
I'm from the 80s, you know, so like we had a different internet back then. You had to put the telephone on the thing, and you only got
rotary.
What's that?
Did you have a rotary phone?
Yeah, you did a rotary phone, and you know, just like on War Games. Remember the movie
dialing
War Games?
911.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
Hello.
You got to do it like Cary Grant. Hello.
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 We're
Sounds good. Weird.
T-3 minutes.
Getting all itchy.
Getting all itchy. Oh, we got 15 people now. That's good. 14. One guy just said no way. These guys are boring.
Oh, nope. Yep, you're right.
Yep.
Peace out.
Let's see. Any other things you have to worry about? Robert, are you doing a present slide show thingy?
I'm doing a brief screen share.
Okay, yeah. So when we're done with our screen share, I'll take that off so that you can turn yours on. Do I have to do something to give you permissions for that? Hey, kitten.
Maybe.
Aren't we supposed to?
I have my share screen option is green.
Which means you can use it, right?
I can use it. I think that's what that means.
As long as when we stop our screen sharing. Cool. All right. Everybody says it sounds good. That's good, except we don't have enough cowbell. Minutes left.
More Fleetwood Mac cowbell.
More.
No, you're being so funny. How can you be funny?
We have kittens here. For those of you who don't know, we recently captured some kittens that were born at the nursery. There's a cat that sort of came in and just dropped babies.
Dropped babies.
And we caught 2 kittens, and they're polydactyl. They're polydactyl. So we decided to.
We're keeping them. So we're keeping them.
So we have 5 cats now. and 2
Tell
dogs.
people that.
I mean, is it illegal?
It's embarrassing.
We have 5 cats and 2 are kittens. The shy one is the one that's messing with the computer, else we'd just grab him and show you, but he scratches the crap out of us every time we do that. But maybe we'll grab Townsend at some point and
Yes.
show off his feetsies, because
Definitely baseball mitts.
yeah.
Ooh, let's
There's-
see if I can pick him up. Ooh, there's
there he
Klaus.
is.
Oh,
So this is Klaus Nomi, named after Klaus Nomi.
Hi.
He's the shyer one.
Okay, goodbye.
He has to come to you on his terms. If you pick him up, he just scratches you. The other one,
doesn't like being held.
yeah. Townsend, on the other hand, is a love dove and loves being touched. We are at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
We're live, guys.
We've been live.
We've been live, but we're live. We should start our thing, huh?
Now there's 18 people.
There's
watching.
18 people watching. So first of all,
Hi.
hello. Hello, everybody. We are here. It is 7 o'clock. We have just started the Plant Geek Social Hour, and we are joined by Robert Anthony Villa, another Plant Geek, and other things geek.
Waving like a
And
princess.
now, Robert, you're waving like a princess. You're seeing yourself wave, but they can't see you do that yet. Because
Say hi.
yeah.
Say hi while you wave like a princess.
Yeah, you got to say hi and talk. Robert, why don't you
Hi.
introduce yourself?
hello. Hello, my people.
Hello.
Tell us what it is you do.
I harass reptiles. I help people with their reptile dysfunctions, and I grow weird plants. No, I am the president of Tucson Herpetological Society. We love amphibians and reptiles. I also am a plant freak like Jared. Jared and I both used to work for the one and only Mark Dimmitt, and
At different times.
at different times, and have become great people because of it. So I also am the curator of the greenhouse on Tumamoc Hill, and I just started school last week. I started school.
Schoolboy, academic. And so Robert, what kind of plants do you like to grow the most?
Oh man,
Question, by the way, but there you go.
man. Who's your favorite kid, Jared?
Don't make me answer that online.
I grow plants that are really weird relatives to our region. So, like, because the Sonoran Desert is considered a subtropical desert, I try and grow those subtropical species that hit their northern limit or stop in the Sonoran Desert. And there's some really weird ones. There's one that's been on my list for many years, and it's a wild cucumber relative.
Is it Marogalensis?
Mara. No, I want to grow that one too, though. There's this one called Apatzingania arachnoidea. It's a little, it looks like a little vine on the ground, but it flowers, and once it's pollinated, the flower goes underground like a peanut, and the fruits are subterranean.
Is this Sonora?
There's an isolated population in Sonora near in Alamos and in central Sonora, but then the next populations aren't until the state of Michoacan, but it's like 300 kilometers away from that population. So, anyways, it's on my hunt list, my plant list to go see and collect seeds of. So
That's cool. I like I don't know that plant. I didn't know that there was a cucurbit that drove its nuts underground like that. That's
Yep. Well,
I like things that drive their nuts underground.
you know, you got to protect them.
Where, where else would be best than underground?
You know, that nitrogen's got to go somewhere.
All right, so we're gonna do some quick plant things, and then we're gonna come back to Robert, and Robert's gonna talk about herps. But let's do a quick drink because you know, even though we've had some sips beforehand, sorry we couldn't wait. We're gonna have some sips now. So
and let's talk about what we're drinking tonight.
Yeah, and now in our slideshow we talked about the plants already, but let's just talk about the brand, where to get it, and then we'll talk about cool. So
this is what Jared and I are drinking tonight.
it is Bacanora.
Yes.
And it is infused with a fruit from a
you
plant.
Can see the little berries in there.
Yeah, there's.
Speaking of berries,
it's uvalama, uvalama fruit, Vitex mollis. We'll talk about that later. But this is what we're drinking. Borderland Spirits brings that into the country, and it is available at Westbound. They've got lots of it, I think. So. I think
Plaza has a couple bottles.
They have a little bit there too, yeah. So you can buy them at local places, and it's local stuff. So yeah, that's what we're drinking, and it's almost cheesy. Well, how would you describe it?
Delicious.
It's delicious. It's actually really easy to drink. I think it's got like a cheesy thing, especially like when you first take a sip.
Sorry.
Here, Katie, before you type that, just have a cheers here. Everybody cheers to it's a new country, a new time, and a new year, and cheers to everybody. Ding. And tap for the dead too, because there's a lot of people who died this year. God, it's good. Okay.
Shall I explain what I drank real quick?
What's that?
Can I explain what I drank real quick?
Yeah, and Robert, tell us what you're drinking.
So this is mezcal from the Sierra Madre, the southern end of the Sierra Madre in Mexico. These guys, Mezonte, you should check them out, mezonte.com. They source artisanal mezcals from all over the west coast of Mexico. The cool thing about this particular mezcal is that it was elaborated, fermented, and distilled in with wood and rock products, except for the little coil in the still is copper. But it's very rustic. It's not a friendly mezcal. It's wild. It kind of curses at you when it goes down your throat. In Spanish, and no, in Tepecano is the language that it curses at you in. But it's delicious. Check them out, mezonte.com. And I think this brand might be carried here in the States as well. I think here in Tucson.
Excellent.
Gotta be one of those fine local retailers.
Yep. Going to start a wee bit of a slideshow. Just we do some, every time we do this, we do a little plant thing. Usually Katie and I each introduce a plant and or talk about a plant. So we got 2 plants we're just going to go through, and then we're also going to talk about the plants that went into our drink too, because I think that's important to know that kind of stuff. So Katie, you just tell me when you say slide forward, and Katie's going to start off with talking about one of the coolest plants in the Sonoran Desert.
One of the coolest plants? Hello, we're going to talk about a cool plant. I wanted to talk about ironwood tonight. Olnea we've got.
Oh yeah, that's misspelled.
Tesota.
Yeah, not Testa.
So ignore that.
Spell check gets the best of us. It's Tesota, not Testa.
Which isn't. Anyway.
It's the testy ironwood.
The Testa of the. Anyway.
All right.
Anyway, next slide. So, Olnea tesota is in the Fabaceae family, which is the bean family, and which means it's a nitrogen fixer. Very cool. Always a cool thing about the bean family. It's the third largest family out of the plant families, sunflower and orchid in the world. Out of the plant families in the world. The sunflower family, which is Asteraceae, and the orchid family, which I don't know.
Orchidaceae.
Orchidaceae are bigger.
Not where we live, though.
Not where we live.
Yeah, where we live, it's Asteraceae and Fabaceae. So.
What did you call me?
Called you Fabaceae.
That was pretty great.
Thanks. Olnea tesota. It's the only species in the genus Olnea. So monotypic, as Jared would say, which I just learned about today. Very interesting.
I love drunken taxonomy. It's great.
That's the only way I do my taxonomy. So, and it was named for Stephen Thayer Olney, a businessman and botanist of Rhode Island. Apparently, he was friends with another botanist and
Asa Gray
and
Mr. Gray.
Mr. Gray
The
named,
Gray.
Good God. Mr. The Gray named Ironwood after his friend Stephen Thayer Olney.
They were all old white assholes. They were privileged, but they were plant nerds, so they couldn't have been that bad, but they were probably kind of bad because they were white men.
They were botanists. So wait, what's next? We were trying to find a photo to show you of Stephen Thayer Olney because
we wanted to see.
Well, and who doesn't love pictures of old dudes with mustaches and glasses? I'm sure. That's just what I envision. So,
but then we were gonna lie to you.
Well, because we couldn't find a picture of him, so we were just gonna look up an old weird botanist and get a photo, and we Googled it.
Yeah. So there's the first. Look at the first thing that comes up when you type in old weird botanist. It's Mark Demmett. So for those of you who don't know, Mark Demmett is a friend of ours and a Tucsonan and one of the greatest plants.
Old weird botanists.
Yeah, we love him.
And we love him.
Yes, and we should all be so lucky.
Yeah.
The weird old botanist that Google brings up first.
That was number one. It was so funny.
Screw the pandemic for canceling his yearly party.
Right.
Right. All right.
So, Olnea tesota is found in washes and on low hills, often gravelly to silty soil below 3,000 feet. So what we're looking at is everywhere that ironwood has been found.
Which is what?
It is mostly endemic to, well, you can't say mostly endemic, but it's mostly endemic to the Sonoran Desert.
Yeah.
So, and this is also, I forget, I was going to say something about this, but I don't remember.
Look at your notes. You have notes.
By the way, endemic just means only found in.
Yeah, so almost entirely endemic. It is almost entirely. There's two species that are only Sonoran Desert. One is a bat, and I can't remember which bat it is. There's a bat that's Sonoran Desert only, and then ironwood is one of them too. So I think it technically spills out barely into another area, but
yeah, they all spill out.
Yeah, but
they evolved.
Like any other plant species, it's Sonoran Desert.
That's why it's mostly endemic.
Mostly endemic.
All right, so let's talk about this guy.
Ooh,
this ironwood, this beauty. So mostly evergreen tree. It will or can lose its leaves in the winter if it gets really cold. Gets about 30 by 30 feet. Big, tall, wide, beautiful tree. Likes to be in full sun with really good drainage, and it's hardy to about 20 degrees. It has flowers mostly start coming in April through May, and then it doesn't have to be as slow growing as it is in nature. So if you have one in your yard, if you have it in really well draining soil, give it water during the grow season, summer, and you can push it to grow a little faster and get bigger faster.
Quite a bit faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's reputed to be slow because it's living off of rainwater in the desert.
Especially this year.
So it's not growing at all.
Right.
So ironwood is an important keystone species.
Katie, what is a keystone species?
Gosh, Jared, why don't you tell me?
Yeah.
Nice way to pawn that off.
Thanks.
You were going to make me answer that?
Yeah, I asked you. Gosh, Jared, why don't you tell me?
Everyone take a drink. Gosh, Jared.
Gosh, Jared. Let's all drink to that.
Yeah, let's drink to that. Keystone species. A keystone species is a super important species that alters its environment enough that it actually influences the environment and changes it. So because, ironwood has how many species that depend on it? It was like, is it in your notes?
It was 100 and...
it's on there, look.
165.
Yeah.
But that's just where it replaces foothills.
Palo Verde.
Yeah, Palo Verde and mesquite. So basically it alters and affects so many different animals, other plants. It fixes nitrogen, like we said earlier. It is a larval food host for at least the funereal dusky wing.
Cutie.
That's my kid's name.
Good choice. It's dark, but mysterious.
Yeah.
The kid always wears a cloak.
So many insects living in the canopy, which attracts insect gleaning birds. It's a very important nectar plant, especially for native bees, and a very, very important nurse plant, which means that other plants grow up beneath it and around it, and has been documented as a nurse plant for 165 species. And there are some which only grow under an ironwood, which I thought was really cool.
And what was that thing you were reading today about how it replaces the Palo Verde? You didn't quite explain.
Oh, so as you get further away from frost, so you get further south and west, ironwood begins to replace mesquite and Palo Verde as the biggest nurse plant in that area. And so that's where you start seeing the 165 species that grow up underneath it.
So to take that a little bit further, nurse plant is kind of a unfortunate term because, for example, when saguaros are nurtured as seedlings under these nurse trees, sometimes they end up killing the tree.
Yeah, that's cool.
Their roots end up strangling the tree.
Sacrifice you make.
And the other one is that in the hottest, driest portions of the Sonoran Desert, ironwood's usually the only tree around.
Yeah.
And so because they're beans and they fix nitrogen with root nodules and the leaf litter that they produce, they're the only vegetation in for many meters away. So they're considered nutrient islands, which is why you have so many species growing under the trees. It's because they're fixing nitrogen, and at night, something called hydraulic lift happens, where the tree actually pulls water up to the surface. The roots pull water and moisture up closer to the surface and lets those babies, those plants under the tree, actually drink and transpire during the coolest time of day or in the nighttime. So yeah, ironwoods are keystone species, especially in the most arid parts of the desert.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, didn't mean to.
Thank you for that. so talking about the ethnobotany of the ironwood, the flowers are edible, the seeds are edible in the pods, out of the pods, but with lots of processing. So the Seri Indians would eat the seeds, but usually I think it said like 2 different cooking waters at least, and or they would dry them out and use them to create flour. And it's also one of the hardest woods in the world. There's only one wood that's harder. I'm a child.
Andrew Brown's grandma.
I'm a child. Or I'm sorry, heavier. Not harder, heavier. It's the heaviest word.
It's also one of the hardest.
And the other one is the lead tree. That is the heaviest and hardest wood. And then iron would be second.
And the Seri make those carvings from them, which is like, ow.
Amazing. And apparently the tools go dull before, as they're creating the...
There's a story that I read about one of the tribes who used ironwood in a way that they if they were crossing a vast area with no water, they would dye it on ironwood, and then it was thought that it detoxified your urine, and then you could have what they called second water, which is your detoxified urine. And if you're crossing and if you're crossing a vast desert, that could be.
Someone asked what the flowers taste like. I don't know, honestly.
They taste like flowers. Like all the flowers that are edible, like there's very few that really taste like something.
Cellulose.
Elderflower has its own flower taste for sure, and desert willow has a subtle but distinct taste. But most flowers are just like, I'm eating flowers.
It's more the novelty instead of the taste.
Yeah, it's pretty in a salad. Yeah.
So I learned something really interesting about ironwood wood, and it's has to do with archaeology. So one way that archaeologists date a site is if they can find charcoal from a fire pit. That's really excellent because they can date the firewood using radiocarbon dating.
Yeah.
And at one time, they were dating charcoal that was from ironwood.
They didn't have anyone else to date.
And so the age of the ironwood was coming out to like 200 to 300 years older than the human settlements that they were excavating. And it turns out that the people were actually burning 150, 200-year-old ironwood for their pits that they were finding on the ground. So ironwoods are, and a lot of desert trees and plants are long-lived because they're only growing when that little bit of rain hits the ground.
Yeah.
So
the other thing about ironwood that might relate to what you're talking about is as a fuel wood, it was used when you needed really, really hot, slow burning fire, which could be associated with pottery making or other things like that.
Well, it decomposes so slowly because it is such a hard, heavy wood.
Somebody made a comment that I think is important to bring up with this, and they were talking about deforestation of ironwood following the popularity of the Seri ironwood carvings, and that's an unfortunate thing when there's whenever capitalism enters ecology, most of the time ecology loses.
I actually read something today that said after the Seri started using only fallen wood, but then it became so popular that they were cutting down trees, and it became such a big issue that they actually stopped doing it for a while and were making statues out of stone instead.
Yeah.
And I think it's back to ironwood again.
They also, the Seri originally, when they made ironwood carvings, were out of, their native animals. But then when it got, capitalized upon, then they started making walruses and, elephants and stuff that weren't native to the region, which kind of takes away, in my opinion,
It was a subsistence art, because this was, as I understand it, it wasn't really a traditional thing. It was something that was developed for the tourism industry. I could be wrong, but I think I remember reading that. So it's survival art.
Yeah.
There's another thing that we should bring up is something Barbara Rose did, because someone mentioned that ironwood seeds taste like hazelnuts. And I was just thinking about what Barbara Rose did when she made that ironwood edamame, which is sprouting green seeds of ironwood and then eating them as sprouted seeds. So whenever you're trying to eat seeds of any legume, especially, there's different ways you treat them to make them edible. Sometimes it's cooking. Sometimes you have to do more than cooking and use, nixtamalization or something like that. But sprouting is one of those methods too, where you can sprout something and make it more edible. So anyway.
Yeah, because they are ironwood seeds are mildly toxic.
Yeah, they are mildly toxic.
So
we should sprout a coconut. I've seen people sprout coconuts, and eat the and eat the activated endosperm.
I don't know why that's so funny, but
coconut just sounds funny.
All right, on to the next plant, just so we don't make this thing 4 hours. So some people call this lemon salvia. First of all, my plant's way less sexy. The ironwood is really hard to compete with, but we tried to just pick a few plants that we actually have available, but also plants.
Look at that beautiful flower.
Yeah, so this is Salvia lemoni, lemon salvia, but Salvia del Monte in Mexico. And I like this plant. Let's talk about salvia in general. It's a genus that's all over the world, but it's very much the diversity. The center of diversity is definitely New World, Central and South America, where the most species of salvia exist. That's always changing because botany is always changing. If you get annoyed by it, sorry, but what happens in science is you get new information, you got to change your data, and people who aren't scientists get really annoyed by that. In the horticulture industry, in particular, people get annoyed when names change, but that's just the way it is. Like our names have to reflect how plants are related to each other in the evolutionary tree. So when we have new methods of looking at data, now we can look at genes and we can see, oh, this actually kind of belongs over here, and names change. So there are some stupid things, like it's really stupid that jojoba is still called Simonsia chinensis, which means from China, and that's because the first person to identify it called it chinensis because he didn't know where it's from. And there's that stupid rule that said the first person who named it, blah, 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 whatever. So salvia, there's almost 1,000 species of salvia. It's the biggest family in the mint family. It's in the mint family. Lamiaceae is the mint family. There's a lot of mints because thyme is mint and sage is mint. Sage is actually a salvia. There's thyme is a thymus, but it's in the same. There's a lot of plants that are very popular in our culture that are in the mint family, and there's many salvias actually. Salvia lemoni, salvia just means it like a salve, like it makes you feel better, or I'm well, or whatever. That's the Latin translation. And then lemonize, it was really named after Sarah Lemon, but we would throw John Lemon in there just could make the worthless men feel like they're important or something. But Sarah was the real botanist, and that's who it's named after. And these were botanists who lived in our region and discovered lots of plants and documented lots of plants. So there they are with their giant plant press and giant pine of some sort there. That's probably on Mount Lemon. I'm kind of jealous of John's beard there. It's kind of a sweet beard.
Yeah.
Cool outfits are great.
So, we saw the distribution of the ironwood. Well, Salvia lemoni is a little more limited. Now, it's not just where those dots are, by the way. Like when you see these dots that are on these maps, it's just where they've been documented, and you can kind of assume that there's a lot more dots in between the dots. But basically in southern Arizona, southeastern Arizona, especially the Chiricahuas, the Huachucas, you can find salvia lemoni. We saw it most recently in Rutger Canyon in the Chiricahuas, and it usually has that fuchsia flower, pinkish fuchsia flower, between 5,000 and 8,000 feet. It goes a little higher sometimes, about 9,000 feet sometimes, but most of the time between 5 and 8.
Well, that one's got the
yeah, talk about that smell of the foliage.
So instead of having that sort of heady salvia smell, it still sort of has that, but it smells fruitier too. It's like, it's almost pineapple-y.
Yeah.
Not pineapple-y, but almost like a minty,
like tropical
salvia fruitiness.
Yeah.
It's very, very distinct.
It is fruity. That's a good word, fruity.
Yeah.
Its closest relative is a plant that even the botanists sometimes still confuse it with. If you look online and you look up salvia lemoni, you'll sometimes see pictures of salvia microphylla. Salvia microphylla, or microphylla, however you want to pronounce that, they're very closely related. Salvia lemoni has more of an ovate leaf with little edges, little ridges on the edges of the leaves, and the hood of the flower has a little it's domed, and then it usually has 2 or 3 little lobes on the bottom. It's so weird to talk about that without sounding sexual, but it's flowers. They're often found in canyons. We've always seen them under canopies where there's like lots of tall trees around, but there's a lot of light still coming in. That's where you usually see it. Think about that when you plant it.
Does it have a hairy labellum?
What? Yeah. Shh, stop being so dirty. So salvia lemoni in our area, in the low desert, and even in the mid desert, even in like oak woodland, grassland, should really have some afternoon shade in the summer. And down in Tucson, it's pretty much evergreen. It goes a little more dormant in the higher elevations. But even in the low elevations, you want to cut it back once in a while because perennials are kind of used to herbivory. You know, animals that come along and chomp them or whatever, or stomp on them, whatever the stupid animals do. And and so animals have evolved to deal with stupid animals coming by and trampling along plants. So you can even see it when any salvia, most salvias, they're grown and they're grown and they're grown, and then they kind of look like tired and sick and like yellow. And if you look down below and you can see all this new green growth below, you can just hack it back down to that new green growth. That's a typical salvia thing. This plant's surprisingly drought tolerant, even though it's higher elevation and stuff. I mean, and then when I say that, I don't mean like creosote bush drought tolerant, but I just mean for a plant of that elevation, it's pretty tough. And it's hardy. I think it's hardier than 10 degrees Fahrenheit, but at least 10 degrees Fahrenheit. For most of you watching this, that's fine. Maybe there's one person in the mountain, I don't know, but yeah, about 10 degrees. It's hard to find in the trade. We've got some because we're cool, man. But
because my dad grew it.
Because your dad grew it. But we have some. It's not common in the trade. It just kind of pops up. It's basically going to be, honestly, it's going to be either Desert Survivors or we're going to have it.
There's a really cool thing in this photo. You can see one of the things that you can use to tell the whole family of plants, the salvia family, is it's got square stems. It's got 4
stems. That's right. Yeah, the mint family has vaguely square stems. Sometimes those are rounded square stems, but they always have that kind of vaguely square stem thing going on, the mint family. We should include more like family talk and all this. Anyway,
talk.
So I know a lot of you like freak out when something's eating your plant, but you know, a lot of you aren't, because we've been indoctrinating you for at least a couple of years. and getting you to appreciate those things that eat your plant. And that's why we grow plants. So there's a lot of noctuid moths that take advantage of salvias. The most common one you're probably going to see on a salvia lemoni is this alfalfa looper moth. We want you to love moths because, you know, they're kind of important.
Alfalfa looper sounds like a racehorse.
Alpha looper. And alpha looper is coming around the track.
That's who you're going for in the Kentucky Derby this year.
Yes. Hot hint there. A hot, what do you call it?
Hot tip.
Hot tip.
Hot tip.
You can tell we're
Alfalfa looper.
We're a bunch of gamblers here. And seeds, the salvias in general are seedy MFers. They which attract lots of granivorous birds. So when you hear the word granivorous, and we use this word a lot, there's classes of birds that they're classified by what they eat. It's not a taxonomic classification. It's just us understanding them classification. Granivorous birds are birds that primarily eat seeds. And so you know, a lot of those seed-eating birds will take advantage of salvia because they have some seeds that are usable. Oh yeah, so this is what we're drinking tonight. This is a shift in subject, and we're going to talk about this, and then we're going to go to Robert we're going to talk about non-plants, or as we like to call them, plants with scales. And so this is what we're drinking tonight. That's what the bottle looks like. That's the fruit there of Vitex mollis, and the agave up in their corner, which we're probably we're kind of in the way of there. But so agave angustifolia is usually the agave, not usually, it is the agave of Bacanora. Bacanora is sort of a misunderstood term. A lot of people, especially wedos who go down into Mexico and ask for Bacanora, a lot of the time they'll send you, you know, like, oh, here, this is Bacanora, and it's cane liquor, which is sugar, fermented and distilled sugar. It's not even rum; it's just cane liquor. You'll get directed in all kinds of places, but and there's terrible Bacanora out there. It's kind of like if you went to the South and asked for moonshine. There's good moonshine, and there's, you know, moonshine that might make you go blind. But there's a lot more good Bacan. That's right. There's a lot more good Bacanora than people think, though, because it's just it's a skill set that's still in the folk domain. So even today. So, but it is starting to be affected by our influences. Most depressing things are. So that's the agave there in the corner there. It's kind of a slim, you know, angustifolia means skinny leaf or slim leaf. So angustifolia has a slender leaf, and there's a variegated variety that you see in landscapes a lot in Tucson that doesn't get quite as big as the wild one. And you can see there the distribution of that agave. It's very heavily native to Sonora and, well, the Sierra Madre and Sonora, Sinaloa, Chihuahua, but especially on the Sonoran side. It's a little bit more on the Sonoran side. In fact, a lot of people, when you talk about liquor on the west side of the Sierra Madres, you get Bacanora, and then on the east side you get Sotol, because the desert spoon, which makes Sotol, is more popular there. This is the fruit that's in this drink, and it's infused. So if you look here, you can actually, they threw some fruits in there just as novelty, but it's actually infused in here too. And they did that for, well, probably novelty's sake, but it does lend some really interesting flavors. And it's a medicinal plant wherever it's native. It has sort of a, it's like a lot of those fruits that are native to our, Southwest U.S. and northern Mexico. It's sweet, but it's not saccharine sweet. It's kind of insipid sweet. And it's mostly, this plant has been used medicinally. But Vitex, if you know Vitex, there's also the chast tree. Vitex agnus castus. The monk's pepper is another name for it because they used to make. I've heard stories, and I don't know if they're true, but that monks drank tea because it squashed down their libido. I also heard that pioneers used to plant it outside their windows of their daughters because they thought that chastity trees would help, defend their daughter's chastity. But I don't know.
Really, just created a tree for someone to climb up into her bedroom window.
Although it's not a very climbable tree.
You make it work.
You make it work. All right, so those are the plants that we're drinking tonight.
Plants we're drinking tonight.
Yeah.
Plants we're talking about tonight.
Yeah. So that's our little presentation for tonight. But we also have some words from Robert and some information that we, a lot of us. When you get into wildlife gardening, we got actually kind of obsessed about this, or at least I did. I think you did too. But like we noticed that when we started developing our little landscape here, it started off with like the spadefoot toads started to increase. And then suddenly we had Sonoran desert toads. And then Robert, what's the third toad we have here?
Red spots.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have three species. We have those three species that are here that we know of. And it was amazing because as we built habitat in our yard, we just saw this increase in toads. And now in the monsoon season, like I actually, when I water in the morning, have to watch out. I'll step on them. They're just toads just blooping around everywhere. And so, it's definitely made me more excited about herps, and I've always been excited about them. And we are members, by the way, and you should become a member of the Tucson Herpetological Society.
Thank you.
We'll let Robert tell you a little bit more about that, but they have meetings, and they will help you learn to know the lizards in your backyard. Without further ado, I'm going to let Robert take it away and tell us about herps in what you might find in your backyard and whatever you want to talk about, Robert. And let me know if you have trouble with screen sharing.
Hello, everybody. Real quickly.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
If you don't have this book and you love plants and are an alcoholic like us, get this book. It's really informative and it's a great drinking pal. And this book that just came out, A Desert Feast, lots of cool stuff in there about our gastronomic landscape here in the Southwest.
And that's Carolyn Neathammer.
Yeah.
How
do you say? I can't pronounce her name.
I don't know if I'm saying it right. Neathammer.
Okay.
I think it's Neathammer.
Yeah, Neathammer.
Which one is it?
Carolyn Neathammer. Oh, it was that one.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, well, thanks for having me. Jared and Katie are dear friends of mine. We've known each other for several years. Partying, really, lots of partying. And cooking. We love to cook. We love to exchange gastronomy ideas and plants. And so, anyways, thanks for having me. I am the president of the Tucson Herpetological Society. That is not the study of a venereal disease, but you can think that if you want, but it's not true. It's the study of amphibians and reptiles, and collectively we call them herps, which is from the Greek word for crawling things. Anyways, let me do a quick screen share. Oh. Can you
want me to play the hold music?
Oh. No, can I have a screen sharing moment?
How do you do that?
Oh, you have to make me a co-host.
Oh, hold on. We're putting that. Get this hold music on.
Oh man, we were supposed to do this.
Participants. Hold on. Okay, Robert Moore. Okay.
It should tell me in a second. No,
Okay,
no.
I'm just making you the host now.
Oh,
so.
now I'm the host. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Can y'all see my screen?
Yes,
see it.
you got it.
Oh, great. So, one, it's really easy to make your backyard friendly for herps, and sometimes you don't really need to do anything. They just sort of show up, and a lot of people don't want them there. And I usually end up answering questions for people who want to get snakes out of their yard or don't want lizards in their yard, which is impossible. But I'm guessing that a lot of us want those things in our yards. And if we want to encourage those critters in our yard, really, you just need to have a lot of vegetation and a lot of rock piles, and nice looking bushes and places for the critters to bask in the sun, dig underground like toads and things like that. It's really not rocket science. It's just, if you were a lizard, where would you like to hang out? And even just having a compost pile will increase your chances of having things that eat insects like frogs and toads and lizards and that lovely little flying reptile in your yard, Jared and Katie, the black-capped gnatcatcher.
Yes.
Also, I was going to say, if you're a beekeeper, and we keep bees, we have some fat lizards that they hang out by the beehives and just they suck up bees as they come by, and they're really fat.
It's like a drive-through buffet. So I just thought I'd show you our website real quickly.
Which is what?
This is the Tucson Herpetological Society, tucsonherpsociety.org. And you can download our latest issue of our newsletter, Sonoran Herpetologist. And on Monday, we're going to have a Zoom broadcast about Sonoida mud turtles. And there's information that as a blog post that you can learn about the talk and the speakers. But one of our most important features of our website is the 100-mile circle. The 100-mile circle is just a circle whose radius is
miles.
What?
Is 100 miles.
Radius is 100 miles from Tucson, and all the cool herps you find there. So I'll start with some toads. Now, there's a couple of toads in urban Tucson. There's the Great Plains toad. There's the red spotted toad. There's the famous Sonoran desert toad. In Phoenix, you would see Woodhouse's toads in urban areas. And unfortunately, also bullfrogs, which are introduced. They were introduced back in the 30s as small game and as fishing bait, but they're not native and they eat all of our native critters. You might find this African clawed frog in ponds in parks, urban parks. It's got a kind of a creepy looking frog, but that's what it looks like. And it has claw. It's a frog with claws.
Wait, show the face again. Oh yeah, it does have claws. Oh yeah, it's like Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm sorry, it's Claude Frog.
Oh,
Sorry, Claude Frog. We didn't mean that.
We didn't mean that. There's no creature that really warrants being compared to these organisms. And then we have, probably the most common amphibian in Tucson is the spadefoot toad. I mean, who could resist that face?
What a cutie.
And they're called spadefoots because of this horny black projection coming out of their back leg, like a spade, and that helps them corkscrew into the ground. And here you can see the webbing between the toes. It's so cute. Look at his little pinky claw right there.
Oh, little jelly beans.
Jelly bean. Jelly bean toes. And they're sexually dimorphic, which means that males and females have different colors. They can be distinguished by their coloration. You can see the male is on the top. This is their favorite Rana Sutra position. And the female is sort of more blotched and leopard printed, and the male is less so. They're not true toads. They're a weird family of frogs called spadefoots. And of course, oh, look at that cutie.
Look at that chunk.
Oh man, he's just got a belly and he just got his swimming legs.
It's so chunky.
Still got his baby fat.
Baby fat. You know, these critters, they go from tadpole to adult toad, or toadlet, actually, I should say, in as little as 8 to 9 days. Because if they're in a puddle that's drying up, they need to be able to have legs and hide underground before the water dries up. And in other species, the tadpoles will sense the water drying up and the pool will be shrinking. They sense that, and it turns on certain hormones in certain number of the tadpoles, and they become cannibalistic, and they eat their siblings in order to grow faster and become little toadlets in time. So that's kind of freaky. Oh, here's one that we have. It's a tropical frog that stops in the Sonoran Desert. This is the narrow-mouthed toad, and it eats ants. And it's about an inch or so big, and you can hear them under the Congress Street Bridge on a monsoon, after a heavy monsoon rain. You can hear these. They're called. They sound like a little sheep. And look at that chonk.
Cutie. Ooh.
Wow.
That's a chunky one.
It's a chunky boy.
Cutie.
And you can tell it because they have this fold of skin over the head right there.
It's my fat.
And they're really loud. And the only other members of this family are in Southeast Asia.
Wow.
They're microhylids. So yeah, you can use our website as a ID reference for what you might see in your backyard. So common lizards you would see. Well, here's an introduced one from the Mediterranean. A gecko, a house gecko, and here's one of our native spiny lizards eating one. Yeah. This is the title to the kids' book, Gecko Has a Shitty Day. So yeah.
What are the most common lizards that people see in their backyards in Tucson?
Probably this one on their house walls, but in the gardens, probably this guy would be number 1, number 2. This is an ornate tree lizard. And what's this guy doing? Oh, they're fighting. So this guy bit the other guy's dewlap, and stretching it over his head. Oh, that's harsh. This guy is showing off his body.
How many lizards do the push-ups thing?
Almost all of them in our area. And what's really cool is that females can look at a male doing his push-ups, and each male has a unique rhythm and sequence of push-ups, and she can tell well something about that is desirable to her. And so basically reproduction is biased in the female's favor because she has to decide who she likes best.
I mean, that belly is pretty blue.
That's pretty blue. So this is an ornate tree lizard. And here's one that's got a kink.
Ooh.
It's got two kinks right there.
A weird little
extra tail.
Extra tail. Some lizards like that. And then this is where other tree lizards come from.
The birds and the tree lizards.
Yeah, I like the look on his face right here. the looks on their faces is quite pleasing.
Spiny too, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about right now?
Ornate tree lizards.
Is also spiny.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They're in the same. Actually, spiny lizards and tree lizards belong to the horned lizard family, and we don't see much of those anymore in the Tucson area. This is the horned lizard you're likely to see. Here's a baby on a nickel.
Look at it, little cutie.
So cute.
Oh, baby.
And yeah, this is Phrynosoma solare, and it's what you would see in abandoned lots. After the Depression, horned lizards had to live in trash-filled lots in the city. I'm kidding.
Sort of.
Sort of. Let's get. Here's a desert spiny lizard. So this is what we see. The big guys. This one is super kinky. You can see his teeth. So he's really smiling for us. And you can see why they call them spiny lizards, because they have those really pointed tips to their scales. Kind of looks like one of the members of Kiss or something.
Yeah, I just said Gene Simmons.
Yeah, good. This one's eating a grasshopper. They have no manners. They didn't evolve eating manners. So they just sort of swallow things whole. And this is a Halloween gecko. It's a Sonoran Desert endemic. And this one's eating a fresh litter of baby cottontails.
So this is a we get questions all the time about animals and stuff, and I know a lot of the answers, but not a lot of them, not always a lot. But one of the things that people always say about Gila monsters, they're always afraid of them because they're poisonous. And sorry if there's any kids on this. There's only 32 people watching, so whatever. But if you get bitten by a Gila monster, you're kind of an asshole, right, Robert?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You have to ignore every single warning sign that this brightly colored lizard is giving you. And they don't jump. They can't jump because their legs are too short. They usually will display their mouths and stick out their tongue and hiss. And if they can't run away from you and they're cornered, they're going to hiss and open their tongue. And then you literally have to put your hand or your foot or whatever you want to put in front of this animal's mouth to be bitten. And it's very painful. You can see that big swollen area in the jaw. That's where all the venom is. And so that's why they have such a powerful bite. They have to work that venom from the bottom up through those grooved teeth. Snakes have their venom glands up here behind the eye, and it's really functional for killing their food, for eating. And secondly, as a defense. But Gila monsters, their venom causes pain, and it's meant to be primarily for defense. One thing, if you know anyone who is diabetic and they take a medication called Byetta, that was modeled after a protein in Gila monster venom that stimulates the production of insulin, because these animals can go for many months without food, and then they have to swallow large quantities. They can swallow almost their entire body weight in one sitting. They have to activate all that insulin at once so that they don't die or pass out from so much food. So yeah, this is how you navigate our website. Here's a really pretty lizard, a zebra tail lizard, flaunting his dewlap and his zebra tail. This one is showing us some leg. Look at that.
Explain to us what the dewlap is.
The dewlap is this, it's sort of like a waddle on a turkey, but lizards have control over it. It's actually a really sophisticated Adam's apple called, it's called the hyoid, and they can exert it outward with stretchy, colorful skin as a display for female.
I'm gonna break your mind here, but turkeys do that too.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, and it changes color depending on their mood. If they're pissed off or they're happy or whatever, like it changes color and it grows or shrinks and changes. It can go from white to red to purple. So like they change. Yeah, they change. It's definitely a communication tool.
This is my cousin Ollie. Ollie has eyelashes that interlock. They're actually scales, not eyelashes, but they work like eyelashes. They can actually seal up like a Ziploc bag to keep sand from getting in there, and they can actually close their nostrils to prevent sand from getting in there when they hide in the sand.
This is still the zebra tail.
Yeah.
Is that one playing dead or they're just dead?
Some herpetologists decided to harass these lizards and put them on their back so we could see what the underside looks like. So yeah, and actually for a lot of these species, we have descriptions and explanations about what they do and where they're found, and we have range maps here. So yeah.
Very cool.
Snakes. So what to do if you have a snake in your yard? Is it a rattlesnake? Well, look at the tail. We have so many snakes in our area. But rattlesnakes are usually just passing through. If you see a rattlesnake, it's probably the first time you've seen it after many years of coexisting with it. Rattlesnakes really don't want anything to do with us. The most common one is the Western diamondback. Males will fight by doing this dance. They interlock and try and pin each other's head to the ground. They are opportunistic, so they'll eat birds and roadkill. They love eating doves, actually. This one's eating a road flattened rat of some sort. And yeah.
We always tell people when they have a lot of rodent problems or other problems with mammals eating their plants, I always tell them, well, let the rattlesnakes come back.
Yeah.
Get a rattlesnake.
It doesn't always, it's not a good selling point, but you know.
The Western diamondback has this really distinctive black and white banded tail. One rattlesnake that people are really afraid of, but really can't, it's really hard to tell them from the diamondback, is the Mojave rattlesnake. And it's got super potent venom. They're really pretty, actually. Here's a mating pair, or a pair of Mojave rattlesnakes. Their venom mostly tends to affect your nervous system, whereas most other rattlesnakes, their venom attacks muscle and tissue and clots blood. But there's a great new book out called The Mojave Rattlesnake and How It Became an Urban Legend. And it's written by a guy who's devoted his entire career to studying this snake. It's really a good book. This is our state reptile, the ridge-nosed rattlesnake. It's got these really distinctive stripes on the face, and it's got a little ridge that goes around the snout.
Such a cutie.
Yeah. And they max out at around 18 inches. So really pretty brown. And I like that it's our state reptile.
I have a Mojave rattlesnake experience that I had recently. We were going to French Joe Canyon, and right, pretty much when we got off the freeway there, what was it, 90? 90? Yeah, 90 going down to Sierra Vista. So French Joe Canyon goes into the Whetstone Mountains, for those of you who don't know. And we stopped, and I was urinating, and then I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, Katie, look, check it out!" And it was such a pissant. It actually started chasing me and hissing. It was so aggressive.
They're grumpy.
They're grumpy.
Yeah, snakes rarely chase people, but they do on occasion. And Mojave rattlesnakes are very irritable, and if they sense that you're threatening their young, they'll chase you. But chasing is kind of not generally a rule of thumb. It's just like people. Each snake has its own personality, and every once in a while you'll find one that will chase you. Sometimes people mistake chasing because you might be standing between the snake and its escape route.
Oh yeah.
And that's another thing that people would interpret as chasing. But this is a really cool snake here. This is a sidewinder. And it's got those horns on the top of the eyes. And no one really knew what the purpose that was. And some people thought, well, they're like shade structures for the eyes, because they're low desert snakes. But these are actually flexible, and because they live in kangaroo rat holes and rodent tunnels, if they have to turn around, they'll hit. The scale will hit the wall, and it'll come down, and the eye will go into the socket, and that scale will sort of work as a lid to protect the eye, because the eye, there's no eye. I mean, this is as close to an eyelid that snakes get. Most snakes don't have a protective eyelid. There's this clear scale over the eye that protects it otherwise. And then you have a forked tongue. The tongue picks up all of the particles in the air. It's a combo of smell and taste. That tongue, the tips of the tongue pick up those particles. They go in, they hit the roof of the mouth, and the snake's able to identify what is in the environment and which direction to go, because there's two sides to the tongue. And then finally, there's this big pit between the nostril and the eye called a loreal pit or a heat sensing pit. And they can see heat. There's a nerve at the bottom of that pit that's connected to the optical nerve. And so temperature sensing is superimposed on top of the vision of the snake. So it can see temperature, which is really wild.
Now you're saying all this science stuff, but what it really means is that the snakes have all these things to look more metal.
Yes.
Right? To
yes.
be more metal.
This is a metal. Look at the eyes on that. Baby sidewinders are about 4 to less than 5 inches long. They're really cute. Oh, why did I hit events? Didn't mean to do that. So yeah, one last thing I wanted to go over is the Sonoran desert toad. And if you guys haven't been following, I know you have, Jared and Katie, but some of our viewers might not know about the conservation campaign that we're doing. I don't know if you can see my shirt.
Yeah.
It's the Sonoran desert toad. So this toad is the only land animal that we know of that produces 5-MeO-DMT. It's the most powerful hallucinogen known to humans. And it was discovered in the 60s, late 60s. And in the 80s, a guy wrote a pamphlet about the toad and its psychedelic properties. And it was a big deal back in the late 80s, early 90s. And people smoked toad pus, basically. They have this big gland behind the eye, and it produces almost exclusively 5-MeO-DMT. Unfortunately, now we have a psychedelic renaissance, and there's way more people into psychedelics, and it means that this poor toad is more hunted for it. It's increasingly hunted for this substance, and we should probably leave these guys alone. There's a misconception that indigenous people smoked toad secretions, which is completely false. And we're here in Tucson at Cream. We're trying to reverse that, and with our design and with shirts, and yeah. So there's a episode of Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia, season 3, episode 1, that talks about the story of this toad, and that we should use synthetic 5-MeO-DMT and leave the toads alone. So if you have any questions about that, I'll be happy to answer them in email or right now even. But for you, those of you guys listening, leave the toads alone. If you hear people talking about this cool new fad in psychedelics, just tell them that there's no need to harm a toad or support toad poaching for this purpose. There are other sources of 5-MeO-DMT. It was never used by indigenous people for psychedelic purposes. Just leave the toads alone. So, yeah, that's we kind of got off topic from backyard herps. Although you might see one of these guys in your backyard.
Actually, yeah, you could talk about like they do affect pets adversely, right?
Yeah. So the rest of the skin, apart from the big gland behind the eye, produces cardiac glycosides. These are alkaloids that will stop your heart, relax the heart muscles permanently if you're not careful. So if your dog or cat starts playing with one of these toads and starts frothing at the mouth, you want to wash it out with water, like with a garden hose, thoroughly. And usually they recover, but if they get too much, they could die. You might have to take them to the vet. So, but you won't get hurt just by picking one up or anything like that. It has to get into your body through the mucous membranes or into your bloodstream somehow. But just picking them up and touching them isn't really going to hurt you. So yeah.
Cool.
I hope I haven't taken up too much time.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm gonna grab one of our kittens, and Katie's gonna talk.
What? Whoops! I'm even on the wrong computer.
Are there any questions on YouTube?
Yeah, if anyone has questions, fire
Now's
away.
the time for questions.
Now's the time. We don't want to go too much later, but this is by the way, this is Townsend. We named him Pete Townsend because he's got that long nose, right? Like Pete Townsend. But he's a polydactyl, which means that he has 6 or 7 toes on each paw. And he was born at a nursery. He was the first. We call him the fat kid because we caught him first. He was easy to catch because he's like me. He's belly oriented.
Let's see. So Robert says, I get a rattlesnake in my yard. Highly unlikely. Should I just let it be? What do I do? Also, where are all the horned toads I used to see as a kid?
Did you hear that, Robert?
I did. I was getting my pet Rosie Boa.
Aw, it's you, cutie.
So if you see a rattlesnake, you have to think, well, do I have little kids or pets that would interact with the snake and cause it to bite them? And if so, then you might want to call somebody like animal experts or any. Sometimes certain fire departments will remove rattlesnakes for you. But with COVID and all the things going on in the world, they try to limit their calls to really serious things. But if you can coexist with a rattlesnake, again, you just need to be really aware of your surroundings, where you're putting your hands and feet. Again, you probably have been living with that rattlesnake for a long time, and this is the first time you've seen it. If you're bitten by a rattlesnake, as ironic as it sounds, the best thing to do is to remain calm. I know I've never been bitten by a rattlesnake, but I know that it would be very hard for me to stay calm. But if you're in Tucson, the best thing to do is to call an ambulance and have them get you to a hospital. The hospitals in Tucson are really good at treating rattlesnake bites, some of the best in the world, because the University of Arizona developed a lot of the most effective methods for treating rattlesnake bites. So yeah, remain calm. Don't use any tourniquets. The best thing to do is to just call 911 and get to the hospital as soon as possible. If you get to the hospital within the span of an hour, the chances of amputation or permanent debilitation go way down. But it's going to cost a lot of money. Antivenom is very expensive. And depending on the bite, I would ask the doctor to see how long they can hold off on antivenom, because not just because it's expensive, but it's a foreign substance that's going into your body. And even though we have really good antivenoms, your body doesn't usually take too well with those heavy substances in it. So,
Robert, how does one best differentiate between C. atrox and C. Scutulatus.
Scutulatus. You have to get really close to the snake. But technically speaking,
you should use some common names too.
Oh yeah. So they're asking, what's the difference between a Western diamondback and a Mojave rattlesnake? They look very similar. And unless you've seen a lot of them over a long period of time, it's really hard. And the real definitive way is actually by looking at the pattern on the face of the snake, the diminutive little scales on the head of the snake, and the tail. The tail in Mojave rattlesnakes, the white bands are usually whiter than the dark gray to black bands. And on the Western diamondback, the bands tend to be evenly, the size of the bands is about the same. But again, there's so much variation, and you'd have to get so close that you might end up getting bitten in the process. So
what about distributionally? Is there tendency?
They generally tend to overlap in their distribution. Some areas are more dominated by Mojaves and some are more dominated by Diamondbacks. But generally speaking, I think Mojaves are slightly higher elevation. Mm-hmm. But that's not a hard rule. They just have their own neighborhoods, and sometimes they intermingle and sometimes they don't.
Do you get hybrids between the two?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, rattlesnakes, a lot of snakes hybridize. But one cool fact is that one of the adaptations to prevent hybridizing is the shape of the hemipenes in males. So snakes and lizards have two penises. They're called hemipenes, and the singular one would be a hemipene. And sometimes each hemipene has two heads, but the shape of the hemipene is a combination of warts and spines and hooks.
Ever.
And it fits like a lock and key into the female of that species. And that's a adaptation to prevent hybridization, but they do hybridize. And again, breeding is the female is in control because she's ultimately is the one that allows the male in. She's the one that allows the male access. And but once he's in for a long time. The phallus inflates or fills with blood and becomes engorged, and it takes a long time for that to reduce, and so she's basically locked onto him, and he can't get away. He's wherever she goes, he's going.
Oh, they travel together?
They have to.
It's just like drummers in a band.
Yeah. Drummers. Oh, drummers are just like rattlesnakes. So yeah, it's a wild ride. They can be linked up for several hours. Almost more than a day.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And that's when they're most vulnerable too.
Yes, for sure.
This is Rosie, my Rosie boa. This is a full-grown Rosie boa.
Where are Rosie boas native?
Rosie boas are from the Mojave deserts and the Sonoran Desert. And again, this is a desert snake, it's from a tropical family of snakes, the boas. And so its next living relative is something called the rubber boa in the Pacific Northwest, from Portlandia. And then next to that is the boa constrictor, this big tropical snake, and anacondas and things like that.
Where in the wild closest to us would you find a rosy boa?
Organ Pipe National Park or National Monument. Anywhere in western Arizona in the Sonoran Desert. They like rocky, bouldery foothills.
Cutie. Look at that cutie.
Yeah, and the head and the tail look so similar. This is to confuse predators.
Do you have people, because I know I have people who won't come to our house because we have snakes. And I have a friend who's a dear friend and I love her. She will never come to my house because she knows that we have a snake. And it doesn't matter that it's in a vessel locked away in the back room, like that she wouldn't even see it, but she's so terrified of snakes that she can't come into our house.
Well, I had a friend who couldn't friend me on Facebook because she saw pictures of snakes on my wall.
Oh no.
So it was that, yeah, it's a real stigma. One thing, a really interesting thing to consider is snakes are thought to be one of the main factors in primates' development of vision and eyesight. When they came out of the trees and they came into the savannas and the grasslands, their eyes had to pick out snakes in the grass. And also fruits that were red or brightly colored played a big role in our advancement as a species, being able to see those colors and help us pick out poisonous fruits from nutritious fruits. So some babies don't have a fear of snakes, and some babies do have a fear of snakes. So what does that mean? I don't know. For me, I think it means that babies who are afraid of snakes have that gene, that instinctual gene, and babies that aren't afraid of the snake don't have that adaptation has been lost.
I don't think I have that gene. We have a boa constrictor, and I used to sleep with it actually, and used to sleep with me in the bed. And I stopped doing that when I had more other animals in the house because it's weird that they would eat your cats or something. So yeah.
One last cool thing about snakes and primates is that there's a recent study that there's spitting cobras, and the cobras, their fangs are fixed. They're not on hinges like vipers, like rattlesnakes, but they'll open their mouth in defense and they'll squirt venom out of their fangs. The opening of the fang is on the vertical surface of the fang, not at the tip. And when that venom is ejected, it comes out like this, and it's targeted at binocular visioned prey. And so 3 cobras, completely unrelated to each other, developed this defense mechanism, presumably to primates and large mammals. So that's pretty cool. A snake that evolved a defense mechanism that we think was specific to primates with forward-facing eyes.
We're old, so we have to go to bed soon. This is way past your bedtime. It's 8:30 almost. So.
Well, thanks for letting me talk to you guys.
Yeah, thanks for
coming. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah. Thanks for showing us your snake.
My rosy bow is always available for exhibition.
Thank you for everybody for showing up and watching our nerdum, and we'll do this again soon.
Yeah, if you have questions, send them to us at sales@spadefootnursery.com
or whatever,
or wherever Robert is available at places too.
Yeah, Tucson. What's their webpage again? It's
TucsonHerpSociety.org.
Yeah, Tucson Herpetological Society. You'll find it.
They've got really cool merch. They've got really cool check out that shirt.
Yeah.
Got a great website, so check it out. Thanks everybody for showing up. That was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rosie.
Thank you, Rosie.
Not that I don't know that that's the name. But.
That was Rosie's. It's Rosie, right?
Yeah, but she can't hear us, so it doesn't matter.
She doesn't give a shit.
She's so offended. Cool. Well, Robert, I guess we'll see you when we see you.
Okay, I'll hit end because I guess I'm still the moderator.
Yeah. All right. Well, ciao, ciao, everybody.
Ciao, ciao.